James from All Hail Internal Combustion. Make sure you like and subscribe. Today we're going to be doing some regular maintenance and a punch list, I guess, if you will, on this 2000 Subaru Outback. Big issues. The battery keeps dying if it sits for more than 2 or 3 days. We did a bunch of tune-up work to it, some exhaust work. Still throwing a code, so we need to be able to get that code eliminated, but the code's disappeared now that the battery has died multiple times, so I have to run the car for a little bit. I tried running it around town to get the code to pop back up, but it wouldn't come. So we need to check possible fuel filter, some other things like that, but we need to go from the motor. The motor's not running correctly either. It seems like it has some hesitation. It's not running as healthy as it should. It needs new tires. And then we're going to go through and see if there's anything else that needs replaced. Shocks, ball joints, tie rod ends, sway bar links. We'll check the front out. We'll show you guys how to check all that stuff. Then the back suspension cradle, it's all one piece and the arms go out to the wheels and everything else. Pretty sure last time I took a look at that, which is almost 1.5 years ago, it was rusty, really, really bad. So we might end up swapping a real cradle out of this car, but we need to just get, this is a customer of ours, so we just need to get a punch list of everything that needs to be done, how much it's going to cost, how much parts are going to cost, and then, you know. So this is how we're going to pay for our garage, and we thought maybe we'd show you guys how we handle auto mechanics on our own. So stay tuned.
And if everything goes right, we don't ever want to work on newer cars again after a certain point. So
yeah.
This pays the bills. We don't like it, but it pays the bills.
Yep. First thing, we're going to test for a draw and fix the battery terminal. This one won't tighten down anymore. It's completely bottomed out. So we already broke this nut loose. So take this off. Yep, just take those off. Got 2 of those. This thing is trashed. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna bolt it to one side of this thing. Ooh. Hopefully. I think I should just take the plate off.
We'll get a washer to put underneath of it if we need to.
Yeah. Actually, is that tight on there? I think it's the wrong size. Okay, this hooked up. So it looks like we're gonna have to modify these brackets a little bit, but that's not a big deal. Over here, get the sheet metal snips. Trim these guys down, no big deal. Oop, gone forever. It'll fit perfect there. We'll put a washer under it. Some super kooky stuff here, so. That one's a bit angry. There we go. Looks like it needs a little taken off the front. That's all right. There we go. We'll get a washer. Tighten that guy down if we really need it. I don't think so. Tighten that guy down, we'll be all right. As soon as you actually put it to work, it doesn't want to work. Oh, That might be one that's going back to Harbor Freight. Sure is.
You can use the other end of that wrench, sir.
Good idea.
It has two sides for a reason.
So, pretty much any car that I'm going to be working on a regular basis, I like to just go ahead. If the terminals are wore out, just replace it. You know, you don't want to have that possibility of an issue for no good reason.
And we care about our customers so much that we even gave her our nice, snappy, red, positive terminal.
Yep.
That I probably bought for something I like more than a Subaru.
Okay, that's nice and tight. Nice and clean. Stick that back on there. Here we're good to go. Tighten this guy down. We'll
get a wrench and clean this negative one too.
Yeah, ½ inch. All right, so we'll get right back to you once we get everything cleaned up. We went ahead and finished up our battery. Couldn't find a draw, so we're gonna go ahead and pull this out, get it out of the way. It was just 10 millimeters. That's what most of this Japanese stuff is. It kind of sounded like a misfire while it's running. We made sure the spark plug boots were connected, and it arcs pretty good actually. So we're gonna get to pull the battery out.
Yeah, I was pulling those while it was running, and I was wearing a leather welding glove, pretty thick, and it still shocked the crap out of me.
So we have a leaking valve cover gasket here, that's for sure. Let's get a socket in there.
Alright, so we went ahead and pulled the plugs out of the Subaru, and they all look to be very happy plugs. None of them are oil fouled. So obviously our problem here is going to be in something other than the ignition system with the suspected miss on the engine. So we're going to go ahead and pop these back in and show you some of the silly things we had to take apart to get the spark plugs out, but it's all in a day's work.
So we're set up to do a compression check now that we've seen that everything's good with the spark plugs. Everything seems to be running fine. Since this is a car that she's wondering if she's going to be able to drive for another 3 to 5 years, we're going to do a compression check and see what the cylinder health is like. So we're just going to crank it over until we get maximum PSI on our cylinders. We have all the spark plugs out, our ignition coils unhooked, and we have the fuel injected stuff. It's important to make sure that you have this throttle blade open so it's getting air down inside of there. That can actually...
even on carb, you know, basically any engine, you want to make sure it's getting air in that it can put out, because that could throw your compression readings off. And once again, the rule of thumb to follow is 10%. You want all the cylinders 10% within each other. So he's going to go ahead and crank this first one here, and we'll watch the needle. Good. See, that's a very happy cylinder right there, 180 PSI. We're going to go ahead and we're going to check all the rest of them, and we'll let you know what we find out on this.
I'm reassembling the motor here, putting the spark plugs back in anyway. Our conclusions were that everything was within 10% of 180, so I think our highest one was
183.
183, so we're going to put the spark plugs back in. Probably go to the fuel filter next to make sure that we're not stopped up there, but we'll probably start it up, see how it does. So I'll be right back once we get everything reassembled. And we're back. We put everything back together. The car seems to be running a lot better. A little bit peppier, not so bogged out. Don't hear a misfire either. It seems to run a lot smoother now. No check engine lights either. So we decided maybe we should check the timing belt. So we pulled this cover off. Sorry we didn't shoot it, but it's just 3 bolts. This comes off. Timing cover's there. We got numbers off the existing belt to try to figure out if that's an original, or I don't think this is the original motor for this car either. Just I know some of the history with the vehicle. So we're wondering how old the timing belt is in this car. It looks pretty loose actually. And we wrote all the numbers down so we could do some research on that. So that concludes the motor, other than we need to get underneath of it, check it for exhaust leaks and make sure the exhaust is good. So now we're just gonna, now that we got the front end of the car up, we're gonna check ball joints, tie rods, wheel bearings. So how I like to do, I jack the car up. You should put it on jack stands so that it's stable, but you get it just high enough that you can get like a nice bar underneath of it like this. Get some leverage, and you want to pull up. You see, there's no give, and what you'll get is a clunk, 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 and that'll be the lower ball joint giving in to the pressure. So that side, no ball joints. Tie rods are left and right play. You take your tire like this, and you wiggle it back and forth. Now, you'll have wiggle, but you'll also feel a clunk, 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 that inner or outer tie rod knuckle coming in and out. So actually, this is pretty tight. I can view the rotors here, right through the rims. They're smooth, no issues there. The brake pads, I can't really see them, so we'll end up taking this tire off just so I can check. These shocks look fairly new up front. I want to say maybe we replaced them. I'm not sure. So, bad wheel bearing. Going down the road, you're hearing a lot of scraping, and wow, look at that. I found a screw in the tire. We're going to have to fix that.
Well, these tires are garbage anyway. They're going to be getting replaced.
Right. So if it's not losing air, it's not a big deal. I wonder if that's what some of that noise is. So anyway, wheel bearings. You'll hear scraping, grinding sometimes going down the road. And maybe it's only while you're turning. All depends. You'll get play left and right, up and down, diagonal. There'll be play in the tire, and you'll hear a little clunking, clanging noise. So that's the big difference, is that if tie rods, you only get left and right, that's tie rods, and you have to get underneath while someone shakes it to try to figure out if it's an inner or an outer.
Or a rack.
Or a rack. It can be the rack too. And a lot of times when you get a new rack, it comes with new inner tie rods, so you might as well just get a new rack. So this side seems tight. Everything's tight. I don't have any issues. We checked the bounce on the car right before we put it up. Well, let's check this side. Bar underneath. Quick lift. No clunking. So it should be good. That seems okay. No ball joint shake. Rotors look a little rough, gouged in here, but it's fairly smooth. So we'll end up taking this off too. We're going to go ahead and get this thing up in the air.
And also with this car, one of the things we got a code on the dashboard telling us that one of the wheel sensors for the ABS system is probably bad.
ER55.
That's code ER55. It shows up on this car above the speedometer. So we're going to have to look into that too to see if one of maybe our wheel sensors have gone bad. And sometimes it could be just as simple as they got a bunch of fuzzy rust all over the sensor and they're not reading right anymore. Or it could be a broken wire or a bad sensor. It happens.
Yeah, so typically ABS sensors, sometimes there's four-wheel ABS sensors, but most times there's one on your front driver side, rear passenger side. So typically, sometimes it's on all four. Depends on how new it is. You can let the jack down slow. That works. So here's our Subaru from the underside and the back. It's not great, but in my opinion, it's not a safety issue yet. But there are some heavy deposits of rust. You know, here's a spot in the spare tire well. It's not all the way through yet, you know, but it's eating the this away. So, you know, it's not horrible, but there's definitely some questionable bits. The differentials pretty wore out. See, I thought it would be aluminum, but it's not. Come on, Mike, don't be a pain. Let's look a little bit further up in here. So yeah, there's some questionable bits. It's kind of rusty, but it's not like anything's rotted through yet. So, I'll show you what the other big issue. Here it's got ABS lights on. This is a car cancer, you know. It just sucks because, you know, you could replace this cradle, but the cradle isn't in the greatest shape. Like what it's connected to. So there's the, you see this up in here, that's floor pan. So it doesn't look horrible, but it's starting to get pretty flaky and rusty. More cancer here and here. In my opinion, if the check engine light is off, it should still pass inspection like this for at least another year. And this is another issue we have because the ABS light is on. Yeah, the bolt's broken off in the ABS sensor and it doesn't come out. So that's another big issue. Oh, looks like our brake pads are pretty much trashed in the back here. I'm gonna need some new ones. Both, obviously, if the side's that low, they both need to be replaced. Inner and outer's that thin, so that means that they're wearing evenly. They're both trashed, so stay tuned. Oh, we're supposed to check the exhaust hard out, aren't we? Well, let's get back under there. I know. Alright, let's check the exhaust out. So we got a flange here, it's pretty rusty. A muffler that's not quite falling apart yet. The hanger's almost broken off though. There's the next joint. This resonator, or not sure if this is a cat or looks good. Looks like the joints are all fresh joints. Those pipes are good. I don't see any obvious signs. See, this is, you know, this car has light rust on it. It's not bad. It's just that back area is real bad. So, and there's some spots like this. But if you keep this clean underneath, I mean, it would last another 3 to 5 years, I think. Maybe with how the back is, maybe less. It sucks because the motor's still pretty strong. So, anyway. Door handle's broken too. Grab that door handle. It's one of them cheap $12 ones from Rock Auto. We should have went and got one out of the junkyard. So, stay tuned, guys. Welcome back. Next day, I talked to the customer about her Subaru. The rust isn't enough to keep the car off the road, so maybe later on when it's a little bit warmer, I'll go grab a new cradle for the rear end so we can put new ABS sensors and stuff for that. ABS won't cause you to fail inspection in Pennsylvania, so that's not a non-issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the car through inspection, get it ready for the road, get new tires put on it. We're going to go ahead. We found that there's an excessive amount of slack in the timing belt, which could be causing the lack of power for sure. You know, the cams not being synchronized to one another. So we're going to, once we get it inspected and road ready, we're going to go ahead and pull the motor apart, service the serpentine system, put a new timing belt, water pump on it, coolant system service, flush that out, do the valve covers, and that'll be it for now. Let her drive it for a while, and we're going to look for a rear cradle, and eventually we'll drop that out, clean all the rust on the floor pan, fix the one hole, and put a new cradle in, maybe replace any of the wore out components in it. But then we'll get that straightened out, and this car should be good to go for a while. Some silly things to fix, like the window switch is broken on the driver's side, and the rear driver's side door handle is broken on the outside. Those are the things I'll get from the junkyard as well. The replacement was cheap and obviously broke quickly, so I'd rather go get a Subaru handle out of the junkyard. But that's it. So stay tuned. We'll probably do a video on the timing, doing timing on one of these. It actually looks like it's a fairly straightforward and easy job, especially, however, I've done so many timing belts on front-wheel drive Japanese cars before that this actually looks like one of the easier ones. So maybe $300 in parts on Rock Auto. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted. We're going to get this thing through inspection. So it's been James from All Hail Internal Combustion. We'll see you again soon. Like and subscribe.